attention to how smooth the footage is, how everything looks, 1080p extreme settings. Hey everyone, today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Samsung Odyssey G3 gaming monitor. If you're interested in the Samsung monitor or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. The first link, if you're in the US, will take you to our Amazon live stream featuring this monitor, us unboxing it, and there'll be a shoppable carousel down below where you can browse the items until you find this monitor. While you're over there, go ahead, please give us a follow on Amazon Live. That would be greatly appreciated. If you're watching internationally, there'll be an international link for you in the description as well. Here's the retail box and packaging. Very simple and straightforward. Samsung's logo and branding, Odyssey G3. This is a 24-inch monitor. Measured diagonally, it's technically 23.8 inches. It features a 144 hertz refresh rate and 1 millisecond response time, and it's 1920 by 1080p full HD. Here's those same specs on the side for you right there. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature featuring safety information as well as warranty info. This does come with a 1-year warranty. We also have a quick start guide available in multiple languages, walking us through everything we need to know about our monitor. Next, we have one of the two pieces for our stand right here. Here's the second piece, the feet and the base, with our nice finger thread screw. We have one included DisplayPort to DisplayPort cable. We have our power cable and our power brick. We have two pieces for the back of the monitor that we'll have to install. And then lastly, we have the monitor itself. Let's go ahead, let's look at this in more detail. First up, we're looking at the back side of the monitor. This is really nice. I love the circular design pattern and aesthetic that we have here with the textured back. So much better than just the boring old flat black monitor backs. We have a Kensington security lock down here, Visa mount if you want to bring or use your own stand. We also have our stand mount for the included stand. All of our ports and I/O, we'll tip that up so we can look at them. Power, headphone jack, HDMI, DisplayPort, and a service USB port. Very bottom, we got our power button and control dial right there all in one. Let's tip it up to the side to get a feel for the thickness of this monitor. Nice top-down bird's eye view. You can see that circular motion and bulge out the back. And now we'll look at the very front for our display. Nice bezel-less frame and design. Now looking at the light, here's where the pixels actually stop. So keep that in mind. The pixels don't go to the edge of the display right up to that plastic bezel. There's about, that much of an actual bezel in there as well. We have Samsung's logo and branding down here, and then just some additional design aesthetics. We can peel off that plastic. Now let's go ahead, let's get this monitor set up. First thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna get the stand set up. It's only gonna fit one way, so take a look at how these pieces are shaped, just like so, and then you'll just finger tighten this in place. If you wanna really use a screwdriver, you could technically Phillips head or flathead, but with this nice toolless design, that's not needed, and it's not gonna go anywhere at all. Now we're ready to fasten it in place to the back of the monitor. So we have these two pieces up at the top that we're gonna put in first, and then the bottom piece will just snap right in. There we go, we now have the stand installed. If for some reason you want to remove this, there is a lever down here below that you just press, and then you can release everything. Now we're going to take this blue circle, we're going to connect it together just like that, and that's how that's going to be installed right there. So we're going to bring it around, make that connection, so we have it connected right here, and then just gently twist in place. So there we go, we just twisted it in. We now have the monitor set up right there. Check that out. Let's look at our different options here. So first up, we have our height adjustment. That's the lowest height setting. There's the maximum height setting. We can rotate this to the left and to the right. We also have our tilt option. We can tilt it back or tilt it down some. Let me show you that tilt from the side. There's our max tilt down. There's our max tilt back. Take a look at the back side of the monitor with that blue circle and ring installed. It looks really cool. Now let's go ahead, let's plug this in, power it on, and try it out. So we have the monitor plugged in and powered on. The first thing you'll notice is our menu button is right here at the very bottom. Just press the button right under the Samsung logo and branding. This brings up our quick little icons here where we can rotate between the settings. So we have our menu settings, our eye saver mode, our power button, and our source. And front and center, we have our return button. So let's go up to the menu right here. And at the top, you'll notice black equalizer, response time, refresh rate, FreeSync, and iSaver mode settings. Then right here in this column, we have our game settings. That takes us into all of these different options. We have our picture mode. Currently, we're in custom, but we have multiple picture mode settings there. Then further down, our black equalizer, we can adjust that. FreeSync Premium, turn that on or off. Virtual aim point, if you want to put that on, you have a couple different aim point options that you can adjust. And you can reset the position. Then let's keep moving further along in the menu. That's going to be all of our game settings. So next up, we have our picture options. We looked at our picture mode. Here they are again. You can adjust it and reach that setting there as well. For our custom mode, we can adjust brightness, contrast, sharpness, color, iSaver mode. So that's our picture settings. Next, our on-screen display, we can change the language and the display time. And I like that they walk you through what every setting means. Then we have our system settings. If we need to do a self-diagnosis, diagnosis, we have that option there. Our volume settings, this does not have built-in speakers, but we can adjust the volume if we want to use this to route audio to our headset that's connected to the monitor. Eco Saving Plus mode, if we want to turn on Eco mode for energy savings. We have our Off Timer Plus setting right there. PCAV mode, source detection. We have our key repeat time, and we have our power LED. We can turn that on or off. Next, we have a software update. This is interesting. You can update the software on this monitor with a USB device, and we can reset everything to default factory settings right there. And then lastly, we have our info option. So currently 1920, 1080p, 144 hertz. That's what we're rocking right here in our Windows display settings. So everything lines up, and we have AMD FreeSync turned on. We have our software and system info. So really nice, easy to navigate and use menu setting. Now let's go over the picture settings. So we're going to cycle through all the different picture settings right here. Keep in mind, for custom, you can change this however you want, but it's nice to have these quick settings that you can jump in depending on the game, title, movie, content you're streaming or consuming. You can easily change them as needed, but don't forget, feel free to take advantage of the custom setting. And then, like I said, game by game basis, just choose the one that fits and makes the most sense, because you'll notice as we toggle to each of these settings, the contrast changes, the blacks, the whites, the shadows. So you get the idea here. They all look really good and bring something different to the picture. So just choose the one that you like best, or make the one you like best yourself using the custom setting. Now we have the UFO test pulled up on our display right here, showing us 3 different FPS values at 144 hertz. This test really does a good job highlighting the importance of having that higher refresh rate if you're trying to push a higher FPS value. You'll notice up at the top, the 144 FPS at 144 hertz. That alien is so much smoother than even 72 or 36 FPS. Look at how staggery, sputtery, and shaky it is as we lose those FPS values, but as we continue to double them till we hit 144 FPS, it's so smooth. So if you are gaming and you can push a higher FPS value with your system, typically you're gonna really appreciate that in the added performance and viewing experience that you're gonna get, just like you see right here with this UFO test. Now let's talk about backlight bleed. So with this particular monitor, the first thing you need to know is that this can literally vary panel to panel, so you can have a completely different experience for me, and that's fine, that's great, right? It is what it is. I can't physically see everyone, just like you physically can't see everyone. So for this particular monitor, I did notice some backlight bleed in both of the bottom corners. Was it a deal breaker? Was it too much? Was it affecting the image quality or anything like that? My answer is no, but I want you to know that I'm not bothered by it, and it wasn't so much that it was any sort of deal breaker for me personally. If you're super sensitive to that stuff, you shouldn't be looking at any monitor in this price point, or you're going to be very disappointed. So just keep that in mind. But again, very common, hard to notice unless you've got a black screen in a pitch black room. Now let's talk about the color accuracy and representation with this display. This is a VA panel, in case you're wondering. I also want to point out, I spent a lot of time trying to calibrate that red value. So for this monitor, I think the best way I can describe it is it's weaker in the red color category. So here are the results that we got, and I could not find anything advertised about this monitor to compare it to, but here's our real world results. 99.4% sRGB gamut coverage, 106.4% sRGB volume. Next up, we got 72.7% Adobe RGB coverage and 73.3% Adobe RGB. Lastly, 75.3% DCI-P3 for our coverage and 75.4% DCI-P3 for our volume. So, safe to say for a monitor like this, typically you're not going to be buying this to do top of the line, you know, color correcting, things like that. But for you casual gamers out there on a budget, or anybody just wants to have a nice display to browse the web, things along those lines, you're not going to have any issues with the colors. Now within DisplayCal, I went ahead, I conducted a measurement report based off of the calibration that we just did in our profile. Not sure if this information is helpful to you, but maybe these are the values you're looking for. I get a lot of requests for delta E measurements, and I'm still trying to figure out how to provide that to you guys. So hopefully this will help. So first up, we have our delta E 76 values right here. So we're showing maximum value 1.17, well within range, especially below the recommendation of 4. I believe it's around 2 or 3. Most people won't be able to notice any value less. You have to be like a trained professional, if I understand that correctly. So definitely well within range. You might even, you know, fool the professionals, so to speak. Next, delta E94, same thing. We're showing a maximum of 1.16 and an average of 0.25. And then lastly, our delta E2000, 1.29 maximum, 0.27 for our average delta E2000 value. Now we're doing the web browsing test where I pull up a couple different popular websites and we just browse the web for a minute so you can see how everything's gonna look and get a realistic expectation. Also, take it with a grain of salt as you have with everything else, because we have a camera pointed at a display. I can just never replicate it the same way and make it look as good as if you're in the studio looking at the monitor for yourself. So first up, we got the YouTube trending page right here. Everything looks really nice, easy, clear, crisp to see, detailed, nice contrast and sharpness. Again, you can adjust all this as you see fit, but our default settings right now look very nice. And again, that 144 Hertz refresh rate, really easy and fluid when you're browsing the web. So that's YouTube. Next, we got The Verge, a popular tech blogs. If you want to read a lot online, things like that, this is how it's going to look. Pay attention again, the sharpness. It's very clear, very crisp. Let's just select this article so you can get a feel again for all the different images, graphics, titles, text, fonts, links, ads even. Fluid, responsive, enjoyable, clear, and crisp. Again, the text font, really easy to read. Images look great. And then lastly, your favorite e-commerce site. If you want to shop online, you have a good idea here how everything looks. But very nice, very fluid, clear, good contrast, good colors, no issues at all browsing the web. Now it's time to test the input lag on this monitor. Keep in mind, input lag is different from response time. This has a 1 millisecond response time, MPRT. Basically, that's going to be the amount of time it takes a pixel to change from one color to another. Or sometimes you see instead of MPRT, it's going to be G to G, things along those lines. So one shade of gray to another, that sort of thing. But for input lag, this is basically the delay between a command and when it shows up on the screen. So think if you're a gamer and you're issuing commands on your keyboard, what sort of lag delay do you have between the two? So that's what this device is going to help us measure. The lower the result, the better. So let's go ahead, let's bring it up. And we're showing around 1.3 milliseconds for input lag. I'll show you the second and third values as well. I know a lot of you guys like to see that. So right within range, basically it's going to double every time. So we got around 8.5, and the bottom should be around 16. So what are we showing down here? 16.1, 16 milliseconds even. So doing a really nice job. 1.2 milliseconds for the input lag is well within range. Definitely common for monitors like this. It's great to see it be that low. I've seen this a lot higher depending on the monitor type, but usually doesn't matter how expensive they are. It usually stops right around 1 millisecond, maybe 0.8 if you're lucky, but that's well within the range of average that we see here, and definitely on the lower side and what you want. Now let's talk about gaming on this monitor. First up, you're looking at some beautiful gameplay footage from Forza 5 right here. Pay attention to how smooth the footage is, how everything looks. 1080p extreme settings. We're getting around, looks like 100 to 120 FPS right here. The Corvette looks really nice. Pay attention to the details that you see in the level. And I do notice that when I'm looking at the monitor itself, it's going to be a little bit lighter than the footage that you're seeing on the camera. It's definitely recording it a notch or two lower exposure wise. So very detailed. Look at the sky, look at the horizon, get a feel for the quality, how immersive the experience feels too. We got the raindrops, different lighting scenarios, but the movement motion, buttery smooth, very fluid. So if you want to do a lot of driving games, you'll enjoy this monitor for sure. I mean, just look at how good the footage looks, and keep in mind, it looks even better in person than what we can even show you via this video. Now you're looking at Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay footage right here. So we're rocking around 100 FPS, give or take, at 144 Hertz, 1920 by 1080p. Look at how smooth and fluid the movement and motion is, just like the driving game. Look at those camera pans and angles. Pay attention to all the fine detail here. So we got the smoke rising up, the clouds in the sky, everybody walking around. The contrast with the colors. Again, it's a VA panel. The fire, the water. Smooth though. Looks nice. The guy in the boat fishing. But look at the detail there, the colors, get a feel for how everything looks through our Samsung G3. And then we got that panoramic view back of the ruins. Everything looks really nice. Now we're looking at Borderlands 3 gameplay footage right here, around 130 FPS, 1080p, 144 Hertz. Check that out. Got the waterfall there, explosions off in the distance. Now we're over 140 FPS at 144 Hertz. No tearing, anything like that. All the people, the different lighting environments, the smoke, the fire. Again, averaging over 140, 150, 160 FPS we're hitting now at 144 Hertz. So check that out. Everything looks really nice. Very fluid. Colors look good. Got a little firefight going on. Some explosions. You get the idea. Now let's talk about next-gen consoles. First up, we got the PlayStation 5 plugged in and connected to the monitor. Here's our video output information that we're currently showing, 1920, 1080p, 60 Hertz. But keep in mind, we have this setting further down, allowing us 120 Hertz output if the game supports it. So if you're looking to play a game at 120 Hertz, 1080p, make sure you have that set to automatic to take advantage of that, if that's something that's allowed with the game that you're playing. If not, you'll be getting 1920 1080p at 60 Hertz. Now we have the Xbox Series X connected to our Samsung G3 gaming monitor. Here are our display options. We have our resolution choice, 720p or 1080. So we have our full 1080p resolution right here. And we have two different refresh rate options, 60 Hertz or 120 Hertz. So there we go, 1920 1080p at 120 Hz using the Xbox Series X and our Samsung G3 gaming monitor. Now let me share with you my final thoughts in regards to the Samsung Odyssey G3. This is a really nice monitor. I'm happy with it overall for a couple of reasons. The first one is for the price that you pay. It's nice that they didn't skimp on the stand. That really makes this monitor super practical, really useful, and just that much more enjoyable because we can even do what you're seeing right here. Put your spreadsheet, put your stream chat, anything you want. We have the nice vertical and portrait viewing experience. Height adjustment, slight swivel. We got that nice movement for our rotation there as well. So a great stand. I'm glad they didn't compromise on that. In regards to the picture quality, I'm happy with it overall. VA is smack dab in the middle between IPS and TN, usually in regards to price and performance. We pull some of that TN gaming performance with that 1 millisecond response time, but we don't have as good of viewing angles or color accuracy as we would with an IPS panel. But I think for most people looking at this, you would rather have 1080p 144 Hertz due to the system that you probably have. You're not capable or you're not passionate about 1440p or 4K gaming. You'd rather have the lower resolution and the higher FPS values. This fits right into that market and demographic, with the compromise being some of the color accuracy and representation. But again, if you're not using this for color correcting, I think most of you out there will not care. And if you do care, one, you're not either buying this monitor, or two, you can still customize the color if you want within the menu settings. So there's always that option for you. But overall, really, really nice. I think besides the color accuracy, the only other thing I'd want to see change with this monitor is having some built-in speakers. I know, most people that are buying this have your own gaming headset and headphones. I totally understand that's probably why they didn't include them, but I'm always in the camp that I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them.